Have you ever felt like you just don't belong here, like the world was never built for you? Maybe you've walked into a room and immediately felt out of place, even if everyone else seemed perfectly comfortable. Or perhaps you've wondered why the things that excite other people never quite spark the same interest in you. If that sounds familiar, you might just be one of those rare souls Carl Jung described. People who were never truly meant for this world in the way most of society understand it. Jung believed that some personalities don't follow the usual path. They don't just fit in because they were never designed to. Instead, they're here with a deeper purpose, to challenge, to question, and to live in a way that's authentic to their soul, even if that means standing apart. In this video, we're going to explore 8 powerful signs that reveal you were never meant for this world. These signs might explain why you've always felt different, why you see life from a perspective others can't, and why, despite feeling out of place, you carry a wisdom and presence that's rare. Make sure you stay with me until the very end, because the 8th sign will give you a perspective shift you might have been waiting your whole life to hear. And if you find these ideas resonate with you, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Because here, we dive deep into psychology, Carl Jung's wisdom, and the secrets of rare personalities like yours. So let's begin with the first sign. And as you listen, ask yourself, could this be describing you? From childhood, maybe you noticed it. You just didn't fit the mold. While other kids blended into groups, joined the same clubs, or followed the same trends, you felt like you were standing on the outside looking in. Even in your own family, you might have felt different, like your thoughts, your values, and the way you viewed life didn't quite match theirs. Carl Jung described this through the idea of the individuated self. While most people are comfortable conforming to collective norms, the individuated person doesn't bend so easily. They sense that they're different, and rather than pretending otherwise, they're almost destined to carry that feeling throughout life. For you, maybe small talk feels exhausting. You don't care about shallow gossip, but you light up when conversations turn deep about life, purpose, dreams, or the mysteries of the human mind. While others enjoy fitting in, you might crave authenticity, even if it makes you stand out. Being an outsider can feel lonely, and sometimes you've probably wished you could just blend in. But here's the truth. That feeling of not fitting is a gift. It means you see the world from angles others don't. You have a perspective that can challenge the status quo and even inspire others to look beyond the surface. So if you've always felt like you're on the edges of society, take it as a sign. You're not broken and you're not wrong. You're simply rare. And Jung would say that rarity is exactly what gives your life meaning. And this is just the first sign. The next one will show you how your deep sensitivity, something you might have been criticized for, could actually be proof that you were never meant for this ordinary world. Have you ever noticed how easily people accept surface-level appearances? They see a smiling face and assume everything is fine. They hear polished words and believe the person must be trustworthy. But you see deeper. You notice the cracks in the mask, the tension behind the smile, the motives hiding behind carefully chosen words. Carl Jung believed the unconscious mind is always speaking through symbols, gestures, and tiny behaviors that most people overlook. Rare personalities, like you, are tuned into those signals. You don't just listen to what's said, you sense what's unsaid. It's as if you can read between the lines of life itself. Maybe you felt this in friendships or at work. Someone acts overly kind, but you catch the subtle insincerity in their tone. Or you watch society celebrate trends, success, or power that deep down you know is hollow. While others get caught up in appearances, you can't ignore the deeper truth. This gift is powerful. It protects you from being manipulated or controlled because you can spot dishonesty before it wraps around you. But at the same time, it can feel isolating. When you see through illusions that others are still buying into, it creates a distance. You may wonder, why can't they see it? Am I the only one noticing this? And that's the paradox. Your ability to see through illusions makes you rare, but it also means you'll never fully blend in with the crowd. Jung would say this is a calling of the individuated soul, to walk in truth, even if it feels lonely. So if you've always sensed the hidden game society plays, know this. It's not a curse. It's proof that you're awake in a world that prefers to stay asleep, and that's something truly extraordinary. Stay with me, because the next sign dives into something even more personal. The way your empathy makes you powerful, yet also fragile. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the mood before anyone said a word? Maybe you sat next to someone who seemed fine on the outside, but deep down you could sense their sadness, their anxiety, or their unspoken struggles. That's not imagination. It's empathy at a rare, almost heightened level. Jung spoke of the anima and animus, the inner feminine and masculine energies that live within us. When a person is deeply connected to these inner forces, they develop sensitivity not only to their own emotions, but to the emotions of others. And that's where your gift of empathy comes in. You don't just notice what people feel, you absorb it. A friend's heartbreak becomes your heartbreak. A stranger's pain on the news lingers in your mind long after the story ends. This ability makes you incredibly compassionate because you genuinely understand the weight others carry. People may even feel safe opening up to you, sensing that you get them in a way most others don't. But here's the challenge. This same empathy can overwhelm you. Crowds might drain you because you're subconsciously tuning into everyone's energy at once. Social media, the news, or even a simple conflict at work can feel like too much to bear. While others brush things off, you carry them. Jung would remind us that sensitivity is not weakness. It's depth. It means you're connected to the human experience in a profound way. Yet it's also a reminder to protect your own energy. Without boundaries, empathy can become exhaustion. So if you've ever been told you're too sensitive, reframe it. That sensitivity is a sign you were never meant to harden yourself the way society demands. You're here to feel, to heal, and to reflect humanity back to itself. And if you're relating so far, don't go anywhere. The next sign might shock you, because it reveals why solitude feels not just comforting, but necessary for people like you. Think about it. How many people measure life by money, fame, or the next shiny achievement? For most of society, success is about how much you own, how high you climb, or how admired you appear. But for you, that formula never quite fit. Carl Jung believed the true purpose of life isn't chasing trophies. It's what he called individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming your most authentic self. And people like you know deep down that no amount of material wealth can fill the emptiness of living without meaning. Maybe you've turned down jobs that promised money but left your soul dry. Maybe you've chosen a creative path, a spiritual journey, or a lifestyle that made sense only to you, but not to others. And yes, this might have frustrated family, friends, or even society. They might have said, "Why don't you just settle down? Why don't you aim higher?" But for you, higher never meant status. It meant truth. This makes you rare. Because while others may sacrifice authenticity for comfort or appearance, you refuse to trade your inner compass for external approval. You'd rather live a life that feels real than one that merely looks successful. Of course, this choice isn't always easy. It can mean financial struggles, criticism, or the constant feeling of being misunderstood. Yet, the reward is a life lived in alignment with who you are, not who the world wants you to be. So if you've ever felt like your values clash with society's definition of success, that's not failure. It's proof that your soul is guiding you towards something deeper. And if this resonates, don't click away. The next sign is where your secret strength lies. The incredible inner world that keeps you going when the outer world doesn't make sense. Have you ever noticed that your richest moments don't always come from what's happening outside, but from what's happening inside your own mind? That's because your inner world is vast, alive, and powerful. Carl Jung placed enormous importance on dreams, imagination, and archetypes, the symbols that live deep within the unconscious. People like you aren't afraid to explore those landscapes. You daydream, reflect, create, and interpret meaning from experiences others would simply overlook. Maybe you're someone who journals vivid dreams, or you lose yourself in art, music, or writing. Maybe you find inspiration in long walks where your thoughts wander into entire universes of ideas. This isn't just imagination. It's your connection to the deeper layers of the psyche. And here's the thing. People with strong inner worlds often get misunderstood. To outsiders, you may seem quiet, detached, or lost in thought. Some might even mistake your depth for disinterest. But the truth is you're not disconnected at all. You're deeply connected to truths that can't always be spoken aloud. Jung believed that those who nurture their inner lives become bridges between the seen and the unseen. They bring forth art, philosophy, and wisdom that enrich humanity. Your visions and reflections might seem private, but they have the potential to transform the world around you. Of course, living in this way comes with challenges. Sometimes the outer world feels too shallow compared to the richness inside, and it can leave you feeling like no one really gets you. But don't mistake that for weakness. It's actually your strength. So if you often find yourself retreating into thought, imagination, or reflection, embrace it. That inner world is your sanctuary, your compass, and your source of endless creativity. And the next sign builds on this, showing why your search isn't about perfection, but something far more profound. Have you ever felt like the world is simply too much, too harsh, too violent, too unfair for your sensitive and searching soul? If so, you're not alone. Rare personalities often carry a kind of heaviness that others don't see. They wrestle with sadness, loneliness, and even despair, not because they're weak, but because they feel life on a much deeper level. Carl Jung believed that true growth requires facing what he called the shadow, the darker, hidden aspects of life and of ourselves. While many people run from discomfort, distract themselves with entertainment, or pretend everything is fine, you can't ignore the darker truths. You see suffering, injustice, and cruelty in ways that cut right to your heart. Maybe you've looked around at the world and thought, how can people be so cruel? Or why do others just accept things the way they are? You notice pain where others look away. You wrestle with questions others don't even ask. And yes, it can feel isolating. Sometimes this awareness makes you feel like an outsider, like you're carrying burdens no one else wants to acknowledge. But Jung would say this struggle isn't a punishment. It's the very process that deepens your wisdom and shapes your soul. By wrestling with darkness, you uncover light. By acknowledging despair, you create room for true compassion. And by carrying this awareness, you gain a kind of depth that superficial living could never offer. So if you often feel weighed down by the world's heaviness, remember this. You're not broken. You're awake. You're seeing truths most people avoid, and that makes you a guide, whether you realize it or not. Stay with me, because the next sign reveals why, even in the midst of this struggle, you sense something greater guiding your path, something beyond the everyday. Have you ever experienced a moment that felt like more than coincidence? Maybe you thought of someone just before the call. Maybe you noticed patterns in your life that seemed too precise to be random. Or maybe you've always carried a sense that there's something larger, something unseen, shaping your journey. Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious, the shared reservoir of symbols, archetypes, and wisdom that connects all human beings. For rare souls like you, this reality is more than just theory. It's something you feel deeply. You might be drawn to spirituality, not in a rigid or traditional sense, but as a way of seeking connection to the mysteries of life. You notice synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences that seem like whispers from the universe. You trust your intuition, even when it defies logic, because you know it has guided you before. Others may laugh at this. They may say it's just chance, or you're imagining things. But for you, these experiences feel undeniably real. And that's because you live with one foot in the visible world and one foot in the invisible. This sense of a greater reality can be both comforting and unsettling. Comforting, because it reassures you that life has meaning beyond the material chase for money, power, or possessions. Unsettling, because it separates you even more from people who can't or won't see beyond the surface. But Jung would say this awareness is a gift. It allows you to connect to symbols, dreams, and archetypes that guide not only your personal life, but humanity as a whole. You're tuned into something timeless, something eternal. So if you've ever felt guided by forces unseen or sensed meaning where others saw only randomness, that's not your imagination. It's your rare connection to the deeper reality of existence. And don't go anywhere yet, because the final sign brings everything together. It shows why you've never chased perfection, but something far greater, wholeness. In a world obsessed with appearances, success, and perfection, you've probably noticed that you just can't play that game. While others chase flawless images, social status, or the next achievement to prove their worth, you're drawn to something far more profound, wholeness. Carl Jung taught that the true goal of life is not to become perfect, it's to become whole. That means embracing your light and your shadow, your strengths and your flaws, your victories and your mistakes. It's about accepting that you are human, messy, complicated, and beautiful in your complexity. Rare souls, like you know that perfection is an illusion. You've probably made peace with your contradictions. You can laugh at your flaws instead of hiding them. You forgive yourself for mistakes, seeing them as stepping stones toward growth. While the world tells you to hide your scars, you understand they're part of your story. This is what sets you apart. You don't need to look perfect, act perfect, or live up to some rigid standard. You know that authenticity is what truly matters, and that makes you magnetic to others, because people are secretly craving realness in a world full of masks. Of course, this path isn't always easy. Sometimes people who are still chasing perfection may misunderstand you, even criticize you. But Jung would remind you that your courage to embrace wholeness gives others permission to do the same. You become a mirror, showing them that it's okay to be human. So if you've ever felt like you're not meant for this shallow pursuit of perfection, that's because you aren't. You're meant to embody truth, growth, and authenticity. And that makes you rare, not in a way that separates you, but in a way that lights the way for others. Stay with me, because now we'll bring everything together, and you'll see why these 8 signs make you someone the world truly needs. So let's bring it all together. We've explored 8 powerful signs that show you might be one of those rare souls Carl Jung described. You've always felt like an outsider. You see through society's illusions. You're deeply empathetic, but easily overwhelmed. You value meaning over material success. You have a strong inner world. You wrestle with life's darkness. You sense a bigger reality beyond the everyday. And finally, you seek wholeness, not perfection. If even a few of these signs resonate with you, take it as confirmation. You're not alone in feeling different. You're part of a rare group of people Jung believed the world desperately needs. People who bring depth in a shallow culture, truth in a world of illusions, and compassion in times of hardness. Yes, it can feel lonely. Yes, you may struggle to fit in. But here's the truth. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. Your uniqueness isn't a burden. It's your gift. And the more you embrace it, the more you'll find strength, clarity, and purpose. So the next time you feel out of place, remember this. The world doesn't need you to be ordinary. The world needs you to be exactly who you are, a rare soul, guided by depth, truth, and authenticity. And if this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more insights inspired by Jung's timeless wisdom. And share in the comments which of these signs resonated most with you. I'd love to know your experience, because together we're building a space for rare souls, just like you, to finally feel seen,